think Veterans Day is always a good topic to talk about. We have a key to a bar. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah. Matt left us with like 15 working taps. So
How we balance the budget is we get rid of anybody that is responsible for, touches, or even thinks about the acquisition process for the military.
we proved here in GWAT, like, if you need it, they will come. You know what I mean? You may not like them as far as the picture perfect soldier, but you'll get some dudes. You know what I mean?
It's like, I'm gonna throw a grenade in the next room. I was like, okay. He goes, I'm gonna cook it off. I'm like, okay, all right, cool. Like, let's do it, dude. He's like, no, like I'm gonna see how long I can push it. I'm like, okay, let's do it. I got your back. You know, I got your too. So I remember he pulls out the grenade, pops a pin, pulls it, pops it. You know, the spoon pops off. And I remember I was standing right by the chaplain too, and he's like, "What's going on here? Like, I don't fucking understand this."
Sir, we've been in the field for 4 days. This is what the skit
No,
looks
this
like.
is the invasion of Iraq. So
shit.
we'd been out of it for a while.
For a minute.
Yeah.
Who was our chaplain in First SFAB? Do you remember?
Foxworth, or Foxtrot.
All right, you're going to have to pull that microphone closer if
Yeah.
you're going to be.
No, I was trying to figure out who it was because I remember on the deployment back, was it the same one?
Maybe not. It might have been somebody different.
Well, so I just remember the, is that better? Mm-hmm. I just remember we were carrying bags and we were, helping people load stuff up and the chaplain was there. And,
We are recording.
yeah, chaplain was there and he picked up one of the bags. Like, man, what's in this thing? A dead hooker?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, chaplain, it is. It's a dead hooker.
That's how you know Chaplain has a history.
Yeah. Chaplain for a reason.
He's washed in the blood now, but back in the day, he was.
Where are y'all going? The hell if you don't change.
He was on Victory Drive back in the day.
At the carousel?
Yeah.
I had to find Jesus somehow.
And it comes in the form of the Foxy Lady. Next on Main Stage.
All right, so we're going to kick it off with the music.
I thought we kicked it off with the chaplain story, but okay. No, okay.
We kicked it off with dead hookers.
Dead
Yeah,
hookers
dead
and bags.
Well, first off, I want to say thanks to Matt Berger for allowing us to come here and tape at Pearl and Pine Brewery.
Yes.
Very cool of him to allow us to do it. He was going to join us, actually, and he was going to a beer conference and learning a lot of good stuff and networking with a lot of the Atlanta breweries, personnel there, and all that kind of good stuff. So we're going to have him back on later and ensure that we actually get on his topic that he wanted to talk with everybody about. But we're going to actually talk about a number of different things. I want to kick this thing off, with it being Veterans Day. Actually, you wanted to kick it off, didn't you, with it being Veterans Day?
No, I mean, I think Veterans Day is always a good topic to talk about. I know that it's going to release probably afterwards, but sometimes people have good Veterans Days, and sometimes people get in their head about Veterans Day.
Yeah.
It's a mixed bag.
Yeah. We actually did a whole episode about that.
I was just about to say, we did a
you?
whole episode last year about Veterans Day, and I think one of the things that stood out for me, because it was still kind of fresh for me, was, the whole free thing. And I think you're a little tainted around a military installation because you've got a bunch of people that are trying to partake in the Veterans Day festivities, a.k.a. free food, and come get yourself a milkshake or whatever it is.
Yeah. Let's go to get some yeast rolls. Yeah.
Yeah. But the further you get away from the flagpole, I think the more isolated you are from, a large population of military folks. I mean, you still have veterans, but just not.
Yeah, it's different.
Pull the crowd here. Anybody outside of your family wish you a happy Veterans Day today?
Outside of the family?
Outside of the family. And it's not that you didn't serve with either.
Yeah, I had a few coworkers.
I did too. I had coworkers that send me texts like 7 o'clock in the morning this morning.
I had coworkers and also just friends.
Yeah.
So I guess that counts as family, or
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say like my mom and my wife every year they say Happy Veterans Day.
They do.
But it's. I think people the message is out, right? I think it's been out for a while, but I think It's becoming more and more part of like recognizable in our culture today. Like this is an actual day. We know people. They're our friends. They're our neighbors. They're our coworkers who did this. You know,
Yeah.
give them a shout out. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was for me there was an absence of, and I know we discussed this on the last one, the absence of the well, you do this on Memorial Day and you do this on Veterans Day, right? Memorial, and you have some people that on Memorial Day
They
they'll
lump
say,
them
like,
together.
Armed Forces Day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all of those get kind of run in together.
I'm not here to nitpick.
Yeah, no.
I mean, the recognition's cool.
Yeah.
yeah.
Thanks for recognizing. Hey, happy Memorial Day. It's
Yeah.
not, but
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't see that a lot. In fact, I didn't see that at all today. And I like that.
Yeah,
I like
that's
it because it's recognition.
Where our brothers and sisters across the pond had Armistice Day.
Armistice Day.
Yeah, a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
So it was very important to recognize that aspect of it because we celebrate that at a different time frame.
Yep.
So we talked about that as well in the episode.
Yeah.
About how the creation of that. But I mean, I think what's cool is that the four of us were free, taking time off, whatever the case was, and we spent it in different ways. And poor Kyle had to work, but I took PTO.
I did too.
Yeah.
too.
And, I mean, for us to be able to come here and just sit around and basically shoot the shit,
That's awesome.
I found out my wife
be any
actually got the
better.
day off.
And we
today.
have a key to a bar. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah. Matt left us with like 15 working taps. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You're
Thank
bad.
you, Matt.
dangerous.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd bring up a topic that it was in the news recently, and some of you guys may have heard about it, was as soon as the new president was elected, and we're not going to get into politics in terms of who was elected, whether you feel that's a right decision or not, there was concern, at least from the Pentagon, and news was coming out on CNN and all the major networks, that there is at least some segment of individuals, I don't know what rank they were or position or title, that were getting together to decide whether or not they would actually listen or follow if the president decided to give an illegal order. At least that's my understanding of what the purpose of the meeting was, at least of what the media was describing. I found that rather interesting to talk about because they're the commander in chief. It doesn't matter what politics you have or anything else, but ethics in combat and unethical orders or ethical orders are always something we discuss as leaders within the military.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first thing I would start with is it's in the media, and I apologize, but the fact that it's in the media, it's on the news, the major news streams, makes me go, yeah, it's probably bullshit.
there's probably like a tiny sliver of truth somewhere. Somebody said a thing.
Like a bunch of leaders that happened to be in the military got together to talk about the new commander in chief.
Yeah.
That's probably what happened. But sure, let's hit the button of that's actually what happened. Do you think the president of the United States is giving illegal orders?
That's the question there.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, well, invade this country. Like, is that how that works?
I mean,
Like,
no.
you know,
I mean, there's checks and balances to all this, right?
yeah, exactly.
The reason
You know?
we have a government, it's the same reason why people, when they vote, there's almost this thought that there's a literal, words to action from the president.
Yeah.
Where we understand, I mean, and we have a better understanding of it just being in the political arm or the military arm of politics, which is, the president may have a want or a wish.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are so many different avenues that it's got to go through before it gets actioned on.
Well,
right?
and I think it just like plays into like everything, right? Just step back, we don't know who the president is going to be, a couple weeks ago, and people, saying who they're going to vote for or who you're going to vote for. By and large, who's the president of the United States actually doesn't affect the average person.
No.
It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It really, really honestly.
You need to vote in the off years if you want to affect where you're at and what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. But I would say that of the last 4 years, our lives have been drastically impacted by the decision making and the policies of the parties.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it like that. And
I think the vote stated that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, without getting too much into politics, again,
Yeah.
it's obvious when you see
Yeah.
the majority of the United States make that drastic of a decision that quickly.
I mean, the economy is an absolute shit show right now. The world's literally on fucking fire, like everywhere.
Yeah.
And these countries like are just saying, you know, we're not scared of the United States of America, so we're going to do flyovers of Taiwan. We're going to put people on ships and ship them to Russia from North Korea. Like, they're not taking us seriously as a world, like, you know. And it's just like, so when you look at all that stuff, like, hey, if we get into World War III, yeah, that is going to impact everybody's lives, you know. And then, you know, so it's just this kind of this conversation of, well, I most of the time it doesn't matter, but I really feel in the last 4 years it has significantly mattered.
I think the fire around the world is going to kind of burn out a little bit.
Yeah.
We've had some leaders reach out already.
Yep.
I'm wondering, and this is the first thing I thought of, is the Taliban going to do a victory parade in Bagram in 2025? You know, they've done it for like 3 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I would probably say not.
I think that'd be
I mean, they can try. It's a definition of find or fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
I come back to, I think about Carter and Reagan, Iranian hostages. Reagan's voted in. He's inaugurated. The next day, the Iranian hostages they're returned, right?
Yeah.
Like they literally just like, oh, okay, here you go. You can have them back now. We know that guy means it.
You've seen the things that's already happened since the the announcement.
Not even the inauguration.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen the countries that are like, oh, I was kidding.
Yeah.
I was kidding. No, I joke.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's conspiracy theories about, you know, Reagan coming in the office and how, you know, there might have been a certain party holding off on the hostage situation, CIA involved, and who was in charge of the CIA at the time, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I love conspiracy theories. I don't believe any of them, but yeah, you're right. I mean, you can see it, though. You can see that an announcement's made, president-elect, and then,
Well,
you know, international effect in what's been happening.
I mean, you just look at the stock market.
I'm about to say the economic effect. That's where, if you don't believe the news, you at least have to trust the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't lie about that.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean, just confidence in the economy.
Yeah.
They know it's going to get better.
So,
I mean, the Fed's dropped rate, another
a quarter percent
on top of a 0.5% not too long ago.
Yeah.
You know, anticipation of.
Yeah.
Man, that's all our economy is anticipating what it's going to be.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we just got to find the fine line between, you know, recession and.
Okay, so if we're going to cut, one way to do that easily is to cut defense budget, right? How does the defense budget get cut without losing training, there's a bureaucracy in the middle there from the guy at the top and the guys that need it, right? The food, the classes.
One of the biggest cuts.
You're going to love this.
You know what I mean? Like
I got a beautiful answer for this. Go ahead.
I was going to say one of the biggest cuts that happened was, you know, pulling from Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Right. So that was a humongous cut. But then, you know, insert foreign aid, foreign military aid.
Exactly.
And then, you know, promissory notes for more foreign aid. But then that might go away based off of, you know, a DMZ across the border that they're talking about doing now with, you know.
Yep.
So I don't know. Hopefully they don't start trying to reach into the.
I'm just wondering if the intelligence budget is going to get cut before.
No, I don't think it will. I don't think it will, and I don't think we can afford to the actual defense, the actual deployment, the actual, you know, things that we're doing as far as the equipment goes. Like, we can't stop doing that. Like, it's basically just keeping the world at peace.
Yeah.
But how we balance the budget is we get rid of anybody that is responsible for, touches, or even thinks about the acquisition process for the military. We get rid of all of them.
Yeah.
The entire Army or the entire military Department of Defense acquisition process and conferences like AUSA, like, everything needs to be flipped on its head, and there actually needs to be replaced with a process that investigates why we're going with certain contracts that we're going with, okay, and who in legislation is actually benefiting from that being built there and being built in that state, and it needs to be a complete counter to that, because all it does is it impedes the soldiers from the things that they actually need and they actually want to get. Because by the time, if a soldier says this, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. You remember this? You definitely remember this. The Land Warrior Project. Do you remember this when you were coming up in the Army? It was like this heads-up display that came down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's huge things on the weapons.
Right.
Okay, the billions of dollars they spent for that project literally were replaced the day they came out with the iPhone.
Yep.
The day they came out with the iPhone, the Army was like, oh my God, we wasted billions of dollars. Steve Jobs did this for like a couple hundred. And it completely got rid of that system. And it was this huge battery pack backpack that you had to weigh that weighed like 15 pounds, had this shitty like heads-up display, had all these gadgets and everything on your weapon to like measure all this stuff. It was a complete waste of time because the Army took a hold of it and they said, oh, well, we can have these parts manufactured here in this state and this here. Well, it needs to have this. It needs to have... Listen, the soldiers don't want all that crap. They don't want any of it. They just wanted something that did X.
Yeah.
And it was tell you where you are on the battlefield and where the other soldiers are on the battlefield and have a quick means to actually reconcile that.
That's like what we were using.
It's like that little thing in the trucks and the Bradleys that doesn't work nearly as fast as your iPhone. So
Oh, you're talking about the FBCB too?
I didn't want to say it out loud, but yeah, Blue Force Tracker. Yeah. If you just share your location on Snapchat, we'll be good to go. I'll know where you're at on the range. You know what I mean? Like,
Drop a pin on Google Maps.
The avatars are cooler.
yeah, share your location.
I mean, the stuff
bro.
that we were working still wasn't iPhone related, but it was in
EUD.
You just flip it down and everything was right there. No, I was a part of the Futures Command and the rotations that you would go to Fort Bliss and they have the experimental brigade that's out there, and they would take an actual brigade that would go and do all the systems in test and systems under evaluation. Yeah. And they just line them all up. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, the amount of money that we spent just to do that, the logistical aspect of it, like running tanks and Bradleys and fitting all these and on all the new, but then, part of the brief is, you probably won't see this for a few years. I mean, the acquisition process was so slow.
Yeah.
I mean, and the reason I was smiling at you when he said that, I mean, it's an audit, right? It's like SOX and 404. It's like the Enron of the Army. It's like the Lehman Brothers of the Army, where everything goes to hell. You start realizing that where money is just bleeding from somewhere. They had trillions of dollars they couldn't account for. Yeah. I mean, I know where some of that was at in Afghanistan.
Well, it's just, I mean, there's so much... you talk about like Elon Musk coming in, and he's going to be, efficiency,
the Doge, right?
Yeah. But like the Army needs to have that, and they need to actually, it doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
One, they need to get rid of the bottom 20% of everybody in the Army, just immediately. Well, we won't meet numbers. They get rid of a brigade. Who cares? Like, just get rid of a brigade. And by the way, let's get rid of an airborne one. Why are we doing this? Why are we messing around with this? What's going on? When's the last time any of them jumped into combat?
Yeah.
Just knock it off. Like, come on, use common sense here. Like, stop being stupid. And you can do that with every single branch. Just start getting rid of useless people. Fine, pay them their severance. Fine, pay them their retirement, but just get rid of them because it's a heck of a lot cheaper than what you have to do when they're in.
Yeah.
Because, we talked about it. You were talking about what's the weakest link in the military? It's still, at the end of the day, I'll still go with my original statement. An E7 past 16 years is one of the most useless human beings in the United States Army.
Yeah.
Because he knows that there's nothing the Army can do outside of gross, misdemeanor actions. They can't kick him out.
Yeah.
And most of them know that, and they're literally just not doing anything. And they know that, and the officers are the same. Majors are the exact same way. If they can get they get promoted to major. They get one last assignment that carries them over. I can't remember how many years. Boom, they're done. They can do their 20 as a major.
Yeah.
Same thing, Anyway, we got to get efficiency. We got to be okay with hurting people's feelings.
You remember the upper out model that they preached 10 years ago? Like, it was like...
That's where QMP and QSP started coming into play.
And they
QMP
offered
definitely.
the 15-year retirement and stuff, and nobody bid at it.
Yeah, QMP used to be great.
Yeah.
But now you can't get anybody QMP to save.
Does it have a lot to do though with first off, that affects retention, and then keeping people in, and which means that you're going to have an open vacancy. So if we're struggling with recruiting now, of course, we just made the numbers. I think like 2 months ago or something like that. Everybody announced that. I believe every branch finally met the number. Air Force typically has it in the bag like a year in advance, but
Well, they get skills there. You know what I mean? They don't just get sweet bow staff skills like that.
I still, at the end of the day, the whole end strength recruitment. Who cares?
That's what I'm saying too. Like if you need
me as a sergeant major, as a first sergeant, as a sergeant first class, I would rather not have the people than the people that you're going to send me,
bro. I mean, we proved during GWAT, like if you need it, they will come. You know what I mean? You may not like them as far as the picture perfect soldier, but you'll get some dudes. You know what I mean?
Bring them in on contract.
You'll get some dudes.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, when we really need them over there, but I don't want you forcing and having them sign like 6 fucking waivers.
Yeah.
One of which is that they were actually clinically mentally retarded. No, that's actually I had a soldier.
Absolutely.
This is in Ranger Regiment that come to find out he was clinically mentally retarded.
get out of here.
I swear to God, this guy killed me almost 3 times with a grenade. Like he could not understand the concept.
You have 9 lives?
Oh, well, I fucking probably have more than that. No, he could not understand the concept of there's a thumb safety and there's a pull pin.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he also could not understand that you're not supposed to throw your grenade at people too. I'm not kidding you. Like this is like real. And somehow we started, like, we took all his grenades. We would not allow him to carry grenades. So he's like the only Ranger in the history of Rangers that was never allowed to carry a grenade. And somehow he got one and almost killed me again. I'm like, who gave, I won't say his name, but like, who gave him a grenade? Like, God dang it.
How do you get to the profiling to that point?
I don't,
He's a strong Ranger. And
He was.
Is it back during the rip days?
Fucking love those.
I mean, he was, yeah. I mean, he was, it was during the rip days. It was during the
more
rip
physical.
days.
Yeah.
He was strong. He was a really great kid. He was a really great kid.
Competence and character. Right?
Oh man, you know,
You almost killed a man with a trident. You might want to go into hiding.
like trying to teach him to drive because he didn't have a driver's license.
Look, if he doesn't know how to handle a grenade,
That-
he's not driving.
That was an epidemic as I was getting out. Is you get kids in that like, oh, never wanted to drive.
Hey, talk to Chard. That's why I drove my own Humvee.
No, he literally like told us like, hey, we're like, you don't have a driver's license? He's like, no, I went down to the DMV and they literally told me that because of my condition, I couldn't get a driver's license.
Is that when you said, what condition?
What condition?
Exactly. And then that's when we found out that, yep, he was
What do you have, extreme eczema? No, like,
eczema. Yeah, anyway, so it was wild. So, I mean, but, as, to Kyle's point, sometimes you got guys that weren't, the greatest human beings in the world, but boy, could they fight.
Yeah.
That's all you need
Exactly.
to do at
Boy,
the
could
time.
they fight.
But see, we're not in a time right now where
We don't need that
people
right
that
now.
can fight.
No,
we
we
need
don't.
people who can lead,
Yeah.
who can train.
Think,
Because
problem solve.
when those exactly
When that happens, you'll
when
be
that
leaders in
happens,
place.
we have people that are ready to go. Instead, when we brought all those people in, we had a bunch of shithouse lawyers in between the leaders and the trainers that were telling them, "Hey, this is the way we do it." And then you get the people throwing grenades at other people.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of what you run into, and you run into that at every organization you go to.
You get guys invading a country in a sea truck. You know what I mean? Like a certain platoon sergeant I used to have was like, why the fuck is this dude in a sea truck with an ASIP radio that's not loaded and an M16 without an optic on it, just bebopping it into Iraq, crossing the berm, bro?
Yeah, why not?
I
it makes
I
sense.
see no problem with this.
They had all the equipment that you told them to have.
Yeah.
Right.
Did it work?
That's the conversation. Is the packing list explicit or implicit? I think at that point it would be explicit.
Yeah, that's no bueno.
Yeah.
I mean, to get back on topic.
Yeah, no.
No, I love what I want to expound on what you were talking about. Maybe not necessarily with a statement, but more from a question standpoint, where you're talking about you cut the waste, I guess,
cut the
right?
20,
Yeah. And maybe it's not a full percentage. Maybe whatever the percentage is based off of the echelon that you think is unnecessary at the time. And we train to. It's kind of like you don't train to time, you train to standard. And I'm kind of reaching with this one, but we train and we we come up with these numbers based off of what we think is going to be effective in a combat environment. So we need to have at least 90 or 80 or 90% that can man a tank, a Bradley, and then part of that organization has to have at least 90%. You can remember the struggles that we would do, and you probably
certified crew. You can't break a certified
crew. Are they turbulent? Are they stable?
Yeah.
And then like ESRIs, right? I need exactly 170 people. We don't have 170 people. Bring the chaplain's assistant.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it just got to the point to where it felt like you were training to time and not the standard. Where maybe because we are cutting the fat, right? Yeah. You go, okay, this is what we have. And so we're going to train to this size of element, and we're still going to be successful because doctrine doesn't change, maybe a little bit based off size, but the overarching theme of reconnaissance does not change, right?
Yeah.
You're still going to go big R, little r. You're still going to, we still have to do these things. But, and it brings up a good point. Do we cut the fat because of automation and, UAV and the,
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, technology is going to make up for a lot of different stuff. Yeah. But I mean, even reconnaissance, even if you got drones, you got all this different kind of stuff, you still have to have the human eyes,
without a doubt. Without a doubt.
And you just need to do a better job of them working in harmony with the technology.
Yeah.
So I mean, when I say cut, I'm not talking about like critical people.
No, I don't. I mean,
give me 2 weeks. I'll pick a bunch of first sergeants, a bunch of sergeant majors that I know. We'll do it for beer, and I'll get rid of 20% of the Army, and everybody will thank us for it.
And that's a big chunk of change too.
Yeah. But I'm gonna caveat this.
It would behoove you to caveat that.
No, I'm kidding. But, and this goes back to the accountability piece. The Army, military as a whole, has to get rid of BMM taskings. Because no, hold on.
Yes.
Because they're illegal. Now, a soldier wearing the green suit cannot fulfill a task. This is doctrine. This is Manning doctrine, policy, and regulation. Cannot fill a task for longer than 30 days unless a commander approves it, up to 60 days outside of his specific MOS or branch. So meaning, doesn't matter, MOS 11 Bravo, let's say, and you have him working at
combative gym. Lifeguard at Kelly Hill.
Yep. Yeah. Any of those. He cannot do it longer than 60 days.
And that's why at 59 days he came back and tagged another fat dude, and the other fat dude went over there.
Yeah, no, but that shit never happens.
Yeah.
When I was over in Germany, I was going through my rules, and I'm talking because I can't get guys, and I'm going through the rules with my sergeant major and my first sergeants, and I'm like, gentlemen, I can't get you any more platoon sergeants because we have all these E7s. And they're filling this task and this task and this task.
Driving the pickup truck
worse.
around
That's worse Oconus than it is Conus, just because
But that's the accountability piece that I was talking about. Yeah. So I pulled the thread on this, and I had and the worst one was the in processing. I can't remember the name of the building over at Grafavir. Okay. And I got like just an obnoxious amount of soldiers over there in BMM. Okay. So I talked to the manager that was in charge of the in-processing building, the civilian. And I'm like, hey, I'm pulling all these guys. He's like, you can't pull all these guys. I was like, well, actually, technically, yeah, I can. They're my soldiers. I can pull them. Well, you owe them. No, I don't. No, you asked. At one point, there was a handshake agreement, sure. But and the guy kept on going. He got the garrison sergeant major involved. The 7th ATC sergeant major. And I sat him down. I said, listen, gentlemen, if we really, really want to dive into this, let's review the contract for the civilians that are in this in-processing building and the services and support they're supposed to provide us. If they can't do it unless we augment them, then they are in violation of the contract. So we need to review the contract. Boy, oh boy, well, I tell you, that civilian, that German civilian, boy, did he start getting antsy. Oh, man, he started like sitting up. I'm like, you're required by contract to provide this service. That's why you won this contract, and it's worth X millions of dollars. You can't do it unless we augment you. Then obviously you're violating the contract, so we need to cancel it. We need to find somebody that can fulfill it. That's my point.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
No.
Well, it's like the contracting jobs that, you apply for on these installations.
Yep.
And they get awarded. Like I applied for a contracting job when I first got out, and they asked me what I imagined I could get paid, right? And I let them know. And, they didn't hire me. Well, that's because the guy's got a budget, right?
Oh,
this contracting team that was awarded. And for people that don't understand, they get awarded this contract because maybe they underbid the person that was above them.
That's usually what happens.
And so now, instead of doing it for $1.5 million, they're doing it for $1 million. But that $1 million budget has to last for 3 years. And then there's stipulations and things that you have to successfully complete as the contract winner. So you've got to, make sure that in processing is done like this with this many people, and you report to here. And so what those people were doing is they were getting over on the system by using that borrowed military manpower.
They were hiring less out of their pockets, so to pay labor or labor burden.
Which means they were making more money.
They were making
and
more
putting
money.
more money in their pocket because their project management sucked, or they knew they didn't. They don't have to suck, but they knew what they were doing.
The manager over at freaking Kiefer Gym made $250,000 a year. I'm like, why?
Because he had broken profiled individuals that were, but then that went away though. And I think you were probably a proponent of that.
I was.
Yeah.
If the bottom 20% of the military, they don't really have to go anywhere.
Well, when you say bottom,
they just go and do that.
let's specify this.
You are reallocated now.
Yeah.
You are now a gym.
When we say bottom 20%, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
We say bottom 20% as in performance, able to do their military occupational specialty.
and also you can do a lot of that work, and leaders can help themselves. Is you need to educate guys on chapter 13 and chapter 14.
Yeah.
And getting guys out, because sometimes you'll sit down with these guys. Some of these folks, some of these soldiers, they want to get out of the Army, and most of the time it's like by any means necessary.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well, I want to help you with that. I'm gonna take care of you. Okay, I don't want you to be in the Army anymore. You don't want to be in the Army anymore. So let's stop playing games, because I had this guy.
I need you to do 35 push-ups on your next PT test, and we're going to do another one in 30 days, and you're going to do another 35 push-ups on your next PT test.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you don't even have to do that. Like I literally had this guy that he claimed he got anxiety driving onto the military installation, wearing a uniform, and there was like a bunch of other things too. Using people's rank gave him anxiety. Now, I'd love to tell you that this guy was like a private, but this guy was not a private.
NCO?
This guy was
An officer.
This guy was a sergeant first class. John. And so anyway, finally I said, okay, well, I don't care. And I got him. He's in my office, and he's like, I get like anxiety, and he's all like fidgeting. I'm like, I just let him go. I let him go. I didn't say anything. I asked him like a few questions, and I was like, do you want to get out of the Army? He's like, yeah. I was like, I want to help you get out of the Army. He's like, okay. I was like, I need you to cut off the bullshit though. Like, just stop. Like right now. I'm not buying it. You want to get out of the Army? I'll help you get out of the Army. We can make it happen in 60 days. You need to do exactly what I'm going to tell you. Understand I'm going to take care of you. Okay? And we're going to make this happen together. He's like, roger that, Sergeant Major. Tell me what I need to do. I'm like, roger that. I had him out in the Army in like 60 days. No more anxiety attacks.
Yeah.
But he was trying to get out, but like people weren't sitting down and just having the hard conversations. Like, just sit down with the dude.
Yeah.
You want to get out of the Army, right? Okay, cool. Let me help you.
Remember why we weren't getting people out of the Army, though? I mean, this is going back, and I agree with you, but this goes back to numbers. It goes back to head count.
Training to time,
Right.
not the standard.
Because at the end of the day, when those numbers go up, they're looking at percentages. It's the red, amber, green of the PowerPoint that drives what we're doing.
It's 4 PowerPoints ahead of your PowerPoint that looks back. You know what I mean? Like it's
obviously, yeah.
It's brigade's PowerPoint to division.
But going back to the 80s, something that you mentioned about why don't we just let that bottom 20% go work at the gym and everything. That's exactly what they used to do in the 70s and 80s. They'd find all the people that they didn't want out there in the troops and the units and stuff, and they'd put them over in the gyms, and NCOs, they'd have drive in the pickup truck telling people they got to mow their grass, that type of thing, and leaving little chits inside their mailbox. And
that's old school.
That's what we don't want.
No.
Right? So if you're talking about reducing, so Jack Welch, I think, had, I think he was the one at GE, talked about get rid of the bottom 10%, reward the top 10%.
Yeah.
And it's kind of your middle rank that really gets, a lot of this stuff done and everything. But a lot of the military, we never think about getting rid of anybody unless they really royally mess up.
You know, that's an excellent, Rob. I think along with that, getting rid of the top, 10%, 20%, also give every brigade sergeant major, like every sergeant major, just every sergeant major gets so many promotions that they can just do outside of the decentralized process or centralized
process.
Yeah.
So specialist to corporal.
No,
No, he's talking
You're
centralized.
talking about like 6 to 7.
yeah.
We're talking
Ooh.
centralized promotion.
My exact point to Rob said, you know how many E6s, like just idiot, but god dang, he's motivated. You know what? Come here, bro. You're motivated. You're dumb, but that's okay. I can deal with that. But you're motivated as hell. Half the time you're making the wrong decision, but at least it is a decision. Boom, you're a platoon sergeant. Here's your E7 rank. Go get him, cowboy.
Are you saying nowadays they can't frack like they used to back in the days?
Yeah,
They used
but
to
I
keep
mean,
that-
yeah, you can't.
Yeah,
frack
but
like
so
that.
I was never frocked. I was a platoon. Yeah,
frack. I don't know whichever one it is.
freaking
I can't
frack.
remember.
fracking, freaking frack.
So
Frocking?
when you're the frocking happened,
Now you got me messed up.
Is it frocking
It's
or
frock.
it's a frock.
Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
frock. FRCK.
It's fucked is really what it is. It means you're doing the job without getting
yeah.
paid.
Without getting to pay, right.
So
I was a goddamn CSM for almost a year.
That's the hallmark of the Army, though. Like,
well, yeah, I was a
who
platoon
here
sergeant for 2
wasn't
years.
under rank for the position they were in?
Yeah.
That's fair.
Well, I just happened to do it for multiple years. I mean, I had to do all my first sergeant time again because I had
Yeah.
30 months as a non-promotable sergeant first class as a first sergeant, and then I got picked up for first sergeant, and I had to do all that time over again. So by the time I was done, I had 66 months as a first sergeant. You want to talk about brain dead? Like I was done, right? But I did the job without getting paid for it. Same thing with platoon sergeant. 2 years as non-promotable staff sergeant.
Yeah.
And then by the time I was done, you saw Colonel Furtick was here. Colonel Furtick got picked up for his command for Bravo Troop 189. The day I got promoted to sergeant first class, I became his first sergeant.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it happens, and maybe the Army's saving money by doing that. I guess on the opposite end of that is like who's not fitting the bill.
Well, all promotions, okay, are done based off of numbers.
Without a doubt.
And that's my point.
Yeah.
You're going to clear up a lot of numbers if you get rid of 10%.
Yeah. Well, to his point, when you were a platoon sergeant as an E6, I'm sure there was an E7, there was an HHT that was literally just wasting oxygen.
Well, what ended up happening was they brought him in. Well, first they were short, which is what put me in position. Then they got the sergeant first class. This was in Germany. Then they got the sergeant first class. They moved me, made me the senior scout of the other platoon, where I'd been, contemporaries with that platoon sergeant. He was like, Jarvis, I'm not telling you anything. Like, you do what you need to.
You want to hear our urban legend? Do you know who Sergeant Major Celestine is?
Yeah, I know Celestine.
Yeah. You ever heard the urban legend about Dobey Stadium and how he grabbed all the master sergeants?
No.
Okay. So and I confirmed this with him. This did happen. He's like, it wasn't quite as.
Have you ever met Celestine?
No.
Celestine's
He's a good dude.
pretty dope.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I like him.
He commands a room.
He does. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Anyway, basically on Fort Moore now.
Yeah.
He, is the infantry sergeant major. Okay, no, he's the MCOE sergeant.
MCOE,
Major. Yeah, he was the MCOE sergeant major. Sorry, and he's
Maneuver
run.
command for those who are in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Maneuver Center of Excellence.
Maneuver Center of
He was a Maneuver Center of Excellence command sergeant major.
But basically, he's getting beat up because he can't go out, he can't man all the BCTs and everything else, with armor and infantry branch guys, and they're complaining about it. They need first sergeants. So he's like, well, where are all these guys? Why are these guys not getting promoted? Like, what is going on here? And he realizes that he has in excess of over 100 master sergeants on Fort Moore.
Oh my God.
So he goes, okay. He puts out to all the sergeant majors, everybody on this list right now that is a master sergeant that has not done their first sergeant time. Okay, so these are non-KD complete master sergeants. Will be in Dobey Stadium at X date. Okay, they all show up. Everybody shows up, right? He goes, okay, here, is X amount of people. Okay, this number of master sergeants. Who wants to be a first sergeant? And some of the hands go up. He goes, okay, go over there, go report to my guys. We're going to find you a first sergeant job. Okay. He goes, you know, and it was, honestly, he's like, it was less than 10%. He goes, okay, none of you have been first sergeants. You're all master sergeants. You know the reason we make master sergeants is so that we can have first sergeants, right? Okay. If I tell you you're going to retire in the next 90 days, if you do not become a first sergeant, who wants to go over this line? And he's like, honestly, only like another 15% went over there. He's like, okay, the rest that are left, we're going to work on getting you out of the Army.
Wow.
Was that 18 or 19? Was that 2000?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Because that's when I was. Were you in, or was that Jerry? Was Jerry?
I was not here. I was over in Germany.
I think that was when Jerry Dodson was first SFAB. I was the brigade ops sergeant major.
Okay.
I remember when that tasking came down.
Yeah. Well, I'd always heard of it, but I always just kind of thought it was one of those urban
I remember.
legends.
We didn't have anybody.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you get promoted in the SFAB, they were pushed.
Yeah.
So when we saw the tasking, because I'd have to go see Celestine in their meetings.
Yeah.
So who is he pilfering then? How do you have 100 that aren't KD complete?
S3s.
Dude, there's guys that they're literally, I walked because it was over by us.
Like hand grenade range dudes? Like
the combatives gym. Dude, I went over the combatives gym one day and I was like, because it's on our footprint. It's over on our footprint, our first SFAB.
It was in the rec center.
And I'm like, I've never ever seen anybody in this building. Like, and this is supposed to be like the combatives university. And I'm like, I'm gonna go check this out. Like, and I get in the front door. You know, it was locked. I think I went in through a side door or something like that. I can't remember how I got in. I might have broke in. I don't remember. Can't confirm. I'm out. I probably broke in. And and literally, I go in there, and I mean, it's like 7 or 8 staff sergeants, a bunch of sergeant first classes, like 3 master sergeant. I think there was like a sergeant major in there. They're like, oh, yeah, we're like, how the fuck did you get in here? I'm like, don't worry about that. What the fuck are you guys doing in here? You're on my footprint. Like, what are you guys doing in here? And they were literally like just sitting around, like a bunch of them just sitting around, like playing video games and shit like that. I'm like, what are you guys doing here? Like, well, we're the Combative School of Excellence. I'm like, I have never, ever seen anybody ever come in here or leave here. Like, what do you guys do? Like, what are you doing with your lives? So, and that's just one thing, man.
They were running courses. I remember Colonel Dakota would go in there and roll with them during lunch.
Yeah.
That was, but you can only run so many courses.
Yeah.
Right.
And do you need a sergeant major in training?
I mean, but how many sergeant majors, not CSM, were also on post? I got to believe there was a lot of those as well.
Yeah. A lot of them.
Well, you know, back in the day, again, taking you back to the old day, you had, you know, the specialist rank as well as the, you know, hard stripes. That's the reason why the Army got rid of it, is because too many were trying to ride the other side. Now, some of it was because it was MLS related, but they also weren't working in some cases to get the stripe side. By going
Is that where you
into
could be like a spec 8?
I didn't go that high.
The spec 6 or whatever?
I'm trying to remember how high it went.
yeah.
I know it went
They had
spec
different
6.
colors.
Yeah, like you were like the best gunner in the Army.
You were like the enlisted warrant officer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I will say something. Like, if you're a specialist and you got a specialty and you're like really good at a job and you don't want to be in a leadership position, I'm kind of okay with that.
I don't necessarily
In technical
disagree with that.
MOSs like commo, mechanics, something like that, I don't have a problem with that.
That's generally where it was.
Yeah.
Combat arms pretty much had nothing but.
I mean,
hard stripes.
what was it? The mandatory promotion list? What the hell was it called? Basically, where you had to promote people.
Yeah, that was the bane of my existence as a first sergeant.
Yeah, there's a way around it.
Yeah. I think I found my way around it because we only promoted like 2 people.
You do a rank reduction board.
Yeah, because
that's a
remember
beautiful thing.
Pinion. Pinion did he didn't. I don't remember if he actioned on that or not. There was a rank reduction board. There was another loophole too.
What is this rank reduction board?
Dude.
So you could do rank reduction boards where instead of a promotion board, you'd come in and they go over.
They'd plead your case.
Yeah, you plead your case and
Got to have your counseling.
Yep.
You got to have
counseling pack has got to be.
It's got to be
approach.
jam up.
Yeah.
But basically, you have to show that they are not proficient and do not possess the ability and have all their leadership and everything else show with statements, just like you would do for
Like a PIP. We were talking like a PIP
Yeah,
in
like
the
a-
civilian
like-
world.
But it better be like
improvement.
it better be
Yeah.
like
Right.
dual 3s in the old system, like 3 years in, right?
But honestly, if you say, hey, we're going to try to execute this by this date, okay, and everybody just needs to get in the ducks in a row. And I'll tell you, we had a lawyer come over, you know, from JAG, And he's like, this is the first one I've ever seen. I want to see it. You sit it down just like a promotion board. You read through it all. You explain to what you're doing. It's all the regulation. And then you say, hey, you know, just like you would do it for an Article 15, you have 7 days to present your matters and tell us why we should decide this differently, but this board will decide, and I will sign off as the board president that you will be reduced in rank. And I will tell you, the JAG officer goes, how in the hell would you ever argue with this?
Well, the thing is, we've lost that. Well, the military, or I can only speak for the Army, lost that formality with getting people out or reducing people way. But they didn't have it when I was in. It was always, you know, this guy's going to promote. We'd send guys to the board who have no business going to the board. Yeah. They would go in there and they would not answer a question correctly.
Yeah.
They wouldn't present themselves in a professional manner, and they would still get promoted.
Yeah. Wow.
Because those leaders didn't want to have to auto-promo those guys.
Yeah. And that's just lazy leadership, in my opinion. I mean, I had sergeant majors. I mean, you know, and I had first sergeants too that would sit there and tell me, you know, well, you know, if we don't promote this guy, the Army's going to make us do it. Or, you know, I even had a brigade sergeant major one time said, well, you know, he's met the time and the service requirements. You know, he's got X, Y, and Z. Like, it's on the Army to train him to be the leader that he needs to be. And I'm like, yeah, but I want you to, you know, and it was a sergeant major that, you know, I deeply respected. But I was like, listen, man, we have potential, like intrinsic potential detector within us. By the time we're in E7, I would say in E6 even, and you know, even maybe when you're starting to be, you know, a senior, you know, sergeant, like, you know, if somebody's got potential, like, you just know. You're like, yep, that guy's got it.
Yep.
Like, he's ready for the next rank. You know, by the time you're a first sergeant or sergeant major, I could decide in like 30 seconds. I'm like, you will always be a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that's the excuse that they always gave was like, oh, we
Rob,
promote off potential, right?
Don't cut that.
Yeah, I'm not going to cut that.
Keep that one right in.
And it works great in the civilian world too.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You just can't say it, but you can write it down in your diary.
Yeah.
Today I met so-and-so, and I decided he was going to be a piece of shit.
Yeah. I'd really love the ones that come in and everyone's really high on them. Like, this is the dude, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
I knew him from back in knew her. Well, actually, it's,
Yeah.
I can get into the gender disparity of it. Whenever I heard like guys that would come in and say, oh, yeah, this guy's the best thing since sliced bread. And they come in and they just lick the chocolate off of windows. You're like, this ain't it.
Yeah.
But from conversely, if I ever heard it about, you know, a female coming in, they lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
So I wonder what that's about. Maybe that's just my experiences.
Because I think it's harder for a female to get that accolade than it is a bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can see the bro do something cool one time.
Yeah.
And like, oh, he's the best. You know what I mean? Like, no, he's not. He did a cool thing once.
Yeah, one time when we were at a strip joint, he bought shots for the entire bar.
Yeah, total bro.
The credit.
You know, that dude's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I will tell you, I mean, you know, like all the time, like, you know, first sergeants and, you know, even sergeant majors, like, okay, before you sit down, because you decided you're going to fall on your sword for this guy, if your opening argument is going to be, he's a good guy, then we're immediately going to be off to the wrong start. So figure out a different opening line, because that's not going to work.
Let's do some.
Well, you got to substantiate. It's got to be quantifiable and numerated. It's got to be like an NCOER.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
I used to tell the two sergeants that whenever, you know, we'd have to go stand on the carpet for somebody. I was like, don't come in here and tell me how great of a person it is. It's like watching Dateline and you talk about the victim and everybody has the greatest things to say. They were the wonderfulest person ever. Yeah. That's not going to fly in the commander's office.
That's not what we're talking about here. Yeah, obviously, if he wasn't a good dude, we'd have kicked him out of the Army and he wouldn't have got good conduct medals.
That's the competence and character aspect.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about why he decided, you know, to
fuck up.
Throw a grenade at Mike.
I got a long history with grenades, actually.
I mean, I ran a grenade range, and I don't think I was ever in that much danger.
Is that not the worst range to run, though?
It is, but I'll tell you, the stories that come from that place are absolutely amazing. I've also never seen so many spoon-chested men that couldn't throw a grenade
Oh my God.
more than 3 feet.
Yeah.
Right. If I saw the safety lever,
I blame their fathers.
Yeah.
I mean, if the safety lever doesn't even clear the bunker, we've got issues.
They should get rid of the wall there. You know, you throw it, and if it doesn't go far enough, then you're jumping rope, bro.
The wall was good for throwing them into it.
That was the
Whenever
best
they
part
would-
of like being a safety officer on a grenade range.
Yeah,
You
that
just
was one of
dump
two.
people in that fucking hole.
Legally, that was one of 2 Army ranges where we could physically put our hands on somebody.
Oh, that's
I
beautiful.
think the other one was the night infiltration course.
Yeah, Nick at Night.
Right. But in the grenade range, there were, I mean, we would tell them that in the instructional period, and we would use our own cadre. So, you know, I'd run it, we'd start talking through, said, understand, we may have to put our hands on you, but only because it's a live grenade. So this is what's going to happen. This is what it's going to look like. And we'd show them, and you'd always have that one kid. In fact, I had a kid in my bunker that did it where, you know, your hands are on their hand, even with the safety lever on. As soon as they pull the pin, I'm still here because they like to milk the grenade. And we're like, we don't like that.
No.
Right. And so prepare to throw, and then throw, we release, and then they throw the grenade. I mean, it's a very controlled environment. But these kids would throw the grenade and they'd stand up and look over the wall and just watch. Now, I have a responsibility because I know the cook-off to make sure that the safety lever is disconnected from the grenade. I can identify where the grenade goes to just in case we have to call an EOD for a dud, and then I drop. So he throws the grenade and I'm standing up watching it, and I look over and he's standing up next to me. I'm like, what the? And so you have to basically, you know, do like a trip, and then take them down to the ground. They still never learn.
Yeah, our squadron ran one in Alaska, and it was different than the grenade range everybody goes through it in basic or whatever. But it's still the same shit. You still have to prove you can throw it over that wire before you can even go.
Yeah.
And that's where we're separating literally like the boys from what is even less than that, because you had some men that threw it, you had some boys that barely got it over, and then you had some, I guess, dudes without dads or something. I don't know.
Dudes
Yeah.
with 2 moms.
Yeah. these kids, I felt so bad for them. Like, it is just throw the freaking grenade. Just it's not going to blow up. It's a dummy. It has a 22 cartridge without a projectile in it. Just throw it.
Yeah.
Well, we would give them an example. There was a fence. It's the Alfred P. Deonda Hand Grenade Range of Excellence. That's on my NCWR. It's not actually called that, but they made it onto my NCWR. And there's a fence at the practice grenade range where you can throw it. And we would show them through example that with the practice grenade body, you could actually make the fence. I mean, it's way out there. But we take the smallest person that we had on the team, and they would just launch that thing. It was just Patrick Mahomes to the end of the fence. We're like, if they can do it, then you can. I'm a 49ers fan. That's the first quarterback that popped in. If they can do it, then we know you can do it.
Yeah.
And it was clown shoes when these kids would come up on the practice grenade range, because they'd throw it and it just like dribbles away from their feet. Like, did you throw that underhand? Did that go backwards? What
You defied.
did your arm
physics.
go all the way around? Is that before you let go? So you'd see some of the craziest stuff out there, and it's. But I never had anybody throw a grenade at me, so that was
I've
fun.
had a lot of grenades thrown at me. I remember on a live fire range, I was in company first sergeant. I was a Charlie company. My company commander was Captain Stahaley. He's Lieutenant Colonel Stahaley now. And so kid throws, knock out a bunker drill.
Yeah.
Kid throws a grenade in there. It doesn't go off. I'm like, don't worry about it. We'll come back. Just continue the drill. Finish the live fire all the way, all that stuff. I go back and I start taking off my kit, throw my kit in, hop into the bunker, grab the grenade, come back out. So, pulled the safety pin off, freaking threw it. Everybody get down, boom, goes off. And the company commander looks at me and goes, I'm going to need you to never fucking do that again. I'm like, what? Like, what? Like, what's wrong? He's like, we're supposed to call EOD. I was like, it wasn't a dud. The chances that a hand grenade's a dud.
He didn't pull the safety pin.
He didn't pull the safety pin.
Yeah.
I was like, he's like, yeah, but how did you know that? And I was like,
I looked at it.
I actually don't think I did, but I might have.
He found out when he grabbed the grenade and the safety pin was still
I just you've seen it so many times. He's like, yeah, but what if you kicked it? I was like, well, fuck. At this point, if a grenade was supposed to be my end, Trust me. Like, it would have already
It's
gone.
actually like one of the safest things that you can do in the Army.
Well, you can hear. You can hear when the safety lever comes
You ever
off
had
or
any?
off.
Yeah, you ever had anybody like purposely try to cook it off and then throw it? Dude, it's the funniest thing to watch. So I'll never forget one of my squad leaders. We were doing hard clearances actually in Iraq. He's like, I'm gonna throw a grenade in the next room. I was like, okay. He goes, I'm gonna cook it off. I'm like, okay, all right, cool. Like, let's do it, dude. He's like, no, like I'm gonna see how long I can push it. I'm like, okay, let's do it. I got your back. You know, I got your two. So I remember he pulls out the grenade, pops a pin, pulls it, pops it. You know, the spoon pops off, and I'll never forget. He's got it like in front of his face, and I see him going. You know, and his hands moving as he's counting.
Wants to throw it so bad.
And he's like, I can't do it. He throws it into the room. And I was like, what was that? Like 1.5 Mississippi? He's like, no, that was like a solid 2 Mississippi. I was like, I don't think so. He's like, I just couldn't do it. And I was like, yeah, I get it, bro.
Those things take a while to cook off.
Yeah.
It's the uncertainty of the cook off that really.
Well, you know, and what's going through your head is this was made by like the Lighthouse of the Blind.
Did the guy making this one have a bad day?
You're the one dude that got the skill craft grenade.
Has this grenade been sitting around since Vietnam? I blew a Claymore from Vietnam.
Did you?
Did it go
Oh, yeah.
backwards?
No. Well, no, I mean, that was the
You guys
post
behind
date.
the berm?
Not the post date. The one shipped in the mail.
Yeah.
No, like the manufacturing date on it was from like
It's like
Vietnam.
full
yeah.
of Agent
Before you
Orange.
set it up, you saw the date.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
on the-
like
it's on the-
manufacturer date, yeah. Or no. I'm sorry.
Board on
You
date?
can look on the no. The lot number. And we were really close with the ASP up in JBLM. You know, it's a pretty small community. And I remember the guy telling us, he's like, "This is the last lot number that we have from this. This is from Vietnam." He like shows us the paperwork. We're
Lot
like,
0.5.
we're like, holy shit! Like this stuff will last. And we're like, Vietnam.
That's baller.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Claymores are fun. I mean,
Claymores are awesome.
I've seen Claymores cut trees. We went out to the engineer qualification range. Definitely not to qualify anything, but
Just to have fun.
yeah, we did do some.
Let's do some shape charges today.
Yeah,
one of my conspiracy theory buddies, he was we were talking like right before the election and stuff. He's like, well, if so and so wins, I'm not going to get political.
Yeah.
He's like, I got a bunch of garden gnomes. I'm like, okay. He's like, and I got a bunch of ball bearings. I'm like, okay. He's like, and I got a bunch of tanite. I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm gonna fill them up with ball bearings and tanite and put them all around my house in a perimeter. That way I could shoot them.
That's how the FBI shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It was awesome. I was like, that's actually a really good fucking idea.
Don't go near the flamingo.
We did the field expedient Bangalore torpedoes.
Oh yeah.
The C4.
Yeah.
C4 with the pickets.
Basically what you are making is a giant fragmentation fucking missile is what you're actually making.
Yeah, it's nasty.
It's pretty much a Claymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's
it'll
literally the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
It'll blow a wire in half and then in half again, then in half again.
Yeah.
And probably leave a crater.
Yeah,
But
it's completely fucking unnecessary, and all you've really, really done is just created a bunch of fragmentation to spear people with.
yeah.
Welcome to the world of engineering.
But when
You know
you're
what I mean?
but when you're a young specialist or a sergeant,
It's yeah.
and you do reconnaissance for a living and everything's passive.
Yeah.
It's like when someone from regular Army goes to breacher course and it's like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
But breacher course for you guys was like PT. You know what I mean? So like
Not quite like that, but yeah, I get your point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we did a lot of breaching, but yeah, the field expedition in Bangalore, I always just laughed. I'm like, so we're pretty much we're going to put C4 inside of metal.
You're doing 2 pickets.
Yeah.
And you just duct tape it. All your deck cords going in there.
Yeah.
And each piece of C4 has its own.
yeah.
There's no fidelity in that.
No.
No,
But it worked.
it did work. The Bangalore is a great, especially because you can saw it in half.
I did not know that.
Yeah. You can.
Did not know that. You know what a Bangalore is?
Yeah.
No.
You know what a Bangalore? So remember,
Saving Private Ryan.
Saving Private Ryan, where
The
they got that
tubes
big
that
tube
they're trying to
shove
bust
into
the
wire.
lines.
It's
Yeah.
a Bangalore torpedo. So
Yeah.
you basically run it in there,
And you got
run it back.
connectors, and you can just sit there and and you can just put them in. And it's compound B, which compound B, it has a very, very low sympathetic rate. So you don't need much deck cord to set off comp B. Unfortunately,
But it'll blow the
I don't
wires.
think a bullet wouldn't set it off, but I also can't say that with the level of fidelity that I would want to be holding one when I was getting shot at.
Probably don't want to light it on fire and river dance on top of it.
yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. But yeah, you can actually take a Bangalore and you can saw it in half. Obviously, have a non-friction knife or saw.
Yeah.
Just
What do they say? What's the opposite of silly putty?
no. Serious putty, which is C4.
Yeah, I think they call that C4.
Well, no. So the way the whole thing goes is the existence of silly putty intones that there's something called serious putty, and then it said, it's called C4. Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Welcome to the internet.
Yeah, it implies that they're the existence of serious putty.
Yeah, exactly.
Heat and pressure.
Heat and pressure.
Well, for those of you who are, as we begin to wrap this thing up, for those of you who are
talked about.
I don't know. We started off on
Rambling.
It was a little bit of rambling. For those of you who are watching the video, you'll see that Kyle actually shaved off the beard.
Kept the stash.
Can you put a photo in?
But I will,
That's amazing.
Because you should put that picture he showed us of him dressed like Dale
Earnhardt. Yeah.
Oh, I will, but
it's pretty solid.
It was pretty solid.
I'll show the old photo as well.
Yeah.
What's interesting about that is listening to you through this episode, I can hear you so much clearer. I don't know what it is about the beard.
I don't think the
being gone.
beard's rubbing the mic anymore.
Did you have long hair too?
I did.
A little bit, yeah.
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 It's been a while.
So you look
since
great, man.
Thanks, man.
You look
Praise
great.
Dale, praise Dale.
Raise hell, praise Dale.
Yeah, you look really good.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, no Diddy. You look good.
No diddy.
What?
Caveat.
No Diddy.
Yeah,
I don't feel like that means the same thing it used to mean.
it's a new meaning. to
It's a
that
new
one.
meaning.
No Diddy. I'm trying to draw the parallel.
I'll parallel it for
Yeah,
him once he goes.
we
Hey,
got to
thanks
go-
for tuning in.
Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll talk at you next time.